Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast. Welcome to the Dickinson County Museum. History coming alive. Mary Dreyer here with me on another. It's chilly.
It is dang chilly out there today. I went out to shovel the walk out here and didn't put my gloves on this morning because it just takes a few minutes. You know, it's a tiny little walk. I was so cold when I came back in.
That is, yeah. It doesn't take long to get them numb.
No, it does not. And actually, numbness is kind of good.
Yeah.
It's better than the extreme cold.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we work towards numb.
Oh, what do we got? This is kind of the kitchen area.
It is. And we're back here today because we're going to be talking about breakfast.
Ah.
Yes.
Most important meal of the day, my dad used to say.
Yes. And now we survive on donuts and whatever, you know. But what got me started on this today, I was actually looking for another article to use today with you, Jeff. And so I was running through all these 1920s era newspapers, and I discovered one from 1929.
And this is the Beacon?
This is the Beacon. Well, actually, this is the Arnold's Park News, which was part of the Beacon back in the time. Okay. And they had a Do You Remember column, which is really fun to read because just like 1929, do you remember way back? Yeah. You know, so it's really good stuff.
So you're getting early history through early history,
Exactly. And this particular article, I really enjoyed because it talks about breakfast, and breakfast was so different way back when than it is today. So I thought, well, hey, let's just talk about breakfast a little bit. Let me start by kind of sharing a little bit from this.
Sure.
Remember when the stack of buckwheat cakes came on the table right off the big iron griddle on the kitchen stove close by the breakfast table? You've seen the buckwheat growing. It was ground in one of the mills on the outlet. Mother kept a crock of batter working from early winter until the whole family got so itchy in the spring that it was time to stop and feed them sassafras tea. Then the sausage and sorghum that went with them, oh, yum, yum. Okay, let me continue.
Please do.
It gets better.
Oh, good.
The sausage was made from our house-grown pigs. The pigs were slaughtered, and the next evening, the whole family, after the babies were put to bed, helped to sort out the meat and cut it up into little pieces with the lean and the fat proportioned just right. Then came the sausage grinder, one you either borrowed or else owned and loaned it to all your neighbors. This was fastened securely to a board which was placed across two chairs. The family took turns holding down the board. It took one person to feed the mill, another to turn the crank. It was interesting to watch those huge worms of meat wiggling through the grinder and falling into the family wash boiler, placed on the floor beneath. Then the sausage would be thoroughly mixed with salt, pepper, and sage. The sage had been raised in your own garden against this very time. When you had guessed the seasoning to be about right, but to make sure, several little pots were made, fried, and sampled for the family to pass judgment on. When it was so good it couldn't be made better, it was crowded into small sacks made of old cloth strong enough to hold together, varying in length. Some of the more fastidious and well-to-do would buy cheap muslin to make the sacks. When all the sacks were filled, they must be put out in the woodshed overnight, first making sure the cats and the dogs were safely in the barn for the night. The family, one by one, would go off to bed, but Mother must set the cakes. She makes a warm batter of buckwheat, a little flour, and some of her own homemade yeast. Then the crock containing the batter must be wrapped in a blanket, maybe a coat and a pillow on top of that if the family could spare one. This was all put beside the sitting room stove, if there was one, or close to the oven door in the cook stove. All this, though, was not a guarantee that the batter wouldn't freeze. And then again, that dry stick might get a notion to blaze and set the others going, and it would get too warm, and the batter would start to rise and run over. What a mess. The blanket would have to be washed if that happened.
I can only imagine, yes.
In the morning, salt and soda would have to be added, or the pancakes would be sour. Table is set for breakfast, must be ready to be eaten by candlelight. The rest of the family are dreaming of that stack of griddle cakes, so fragrant and brown. The generous supply of golden sorghum and that big platter of fresh sausage before Mother can lay her tired body down to rest.
Poor Mother. So
Poor Mother,
sounds like you've got the crappy end of the stick here. Yeah.
I've noticed that. Never mind if the house is full of smoke and all smelly, you could open the doors and air it out after the children had gone to school. After the dogs and cats had had their share, the batter left over was put in a clean crock and set away to be renewed for the next morning. It is safe to say that John Klein and Alvarado Kingman, you know the Kingman place?
Yeah, sure.
Alvarado Kingman were about the last devotees of the homemade sausage, and for many years they were the area experts.
Wow.
So that's different than going to Spud Nuts.
Yeah, there was a lot more preparation there for breakfast, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And putting the kids to bed before, here piggies. Good idea. That's why my dad said, never name the livestock.
This just makes me think of how much work went into everything.
Everything, yeah.
Did you notice it was homemade yeast that they used?
Yes.
Now, I'd never heard of that.
I haven't either. You go get the little packet of yeast and, or what they had to do it rose, to put it close to and cover it with blankets and coats or whatever.
If you had a coat to spare.
If you had a coat to spare.
Yeah.
Wow.
Times were different. And I don't know what year this was from, but long before 1929, for sure.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, growing up, was there a breakfast that you really, really, really liked?
Yes. And there's some similarity here in German, and it was called Pangrit. And it was pork and beef ground, and you put in some oat-type meal, and you cook that, warmed it up, and then you put that over toast, and you put dark maple syrup over it. Yeah. To this day, I can smell it, I can taste it. And
do you ever make it?
I have not, but I've got a recipe that I am going to try. But it was so delectable.
So does the meat look like hamburger then when it's done?
It kind of, yeah. It did have a look like either ground burger or ground pork, and that's what it was together. And oh my gosh, and you put that dark maple syrup on it, especially on a morning like today.
It sticks to your ribs.
Yes, and which I think was the intent of a lot of the meals back then.
Yeah.
How about you?
I remember as a kid having cornmeal mush. Do you remember that?
No.
It would come in rectangles, kind of cubey rectangles, maybe that long, and my mom would slice it like that.
Right.
And then she'd fry it, and it'd get crispy on the outside, and then we'd put syrup on that too. That was one thing. The other thing I remember, I'm trying to think of the nice term for it, chipped beef on toast.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes, there is another name.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
You chose the right one, yes.
Yes, because this is a family-oriented program, right? But the dried beef would be, she'd fry it in a pan and then make kind of a white sauce sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a creamy type,
Yeah, and then plunk it on toast.
Oh,
and
that was
I haven't had that.
I haven't either.
I bet it's been, oh Lord, 60 years since I've had that.
I have to say I'm probably in that era somewhere, and it was when I was a kid, it was kind of a staple. We had that, and it was a treat. We loved it.
Yeah.
But we'd have that for an evening meal, not breakfast. Yeah. So
very interesting. But my all-time favorite, most folks would call it a breakfast thing. We would go to my grandma's for supper for this, is waffles. Waffles. And my grandma didn't make waffles from a box, and neither do I might add.
Good.
Her waffles, I have her recipe, her handwritten recipe, and it's one of my most prized possessions.
I bet.
I can hardly read it anymore. But it was 2 cups of flour, a half cup of butter melted, teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, milk, I think 1 3/4 cups of milk, and 3 tablespoons of sugar. And then she had a doohickey like this.
Oh, for mixing the batter.
Yeah, and we would fight over who would get to do this,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what kids do.
Yep.
It was just so fun. And as a grown-up, I've never had one of these things. That I think our world isn't as good of a place without having these. For kids to use.
And there's something about doing it manually that it just makes it more homemade to me.
Right,
yeah.
right. My grandma, like I said, had one of these, and I would give almost anything to have her thing like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what a beater jar or
whatever they call it.
Whatever
Yeah.
it's called. And then my grandma had a waffle iron, much like this one.
Oh my.
Only hers was more uptown because it had a little light here that would turn from green to red.
Oh.
And it was our job as the kids to look to see when it turned to green, because then that meant that you could open this. Oh, this is pretty gritty. Open this up and pour the batter in.
Okay.
And the waffle would cook.
Yeah.
But
and then did you have a time, 2 minutes or?
we didn't time it. It went by the light.
Oh,
kind
okay.
of. And then you could kind of peek it, open it up a little bit and peek it. But back in the day, before these, there were waffle irons like this.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa! Just about broke your iPad. Made out of cast iron.
And you put that. There we go. Put that on the stove.
You'd put that on the stove burner.
Yeah.
And you'd have waffles out of this. I have to think these were probably a little on the cantankerous side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they used butter or some kind of vegetable oil to, so it wouldn't stick.
Oh, I would bet butter, wouldn't you bet?
Yeah, I would bet butter. Yeah,
They would have
that
had,
was plenty.
They had plenty of butter.
Yeah.
So, so cooking and breakfast were so different back in the day. And can't you just see all the kids sitting around the table? All 10 kids sitting around the table, and mom is already sweating for the day. And, but they're there together. They're eating a real meal before they go off to school or
start
whatever.
their day. Yeah.
I found a recipe book. This is very cool. Spirit Lake, 1899.
Oh my.
Yeah. Now I'm assuming, Jeff, with breakfast you have coffee.
Yes. Constantly. Yes.
Yes. I'm as long as I have my flavored cream.
Your creamer. Yeah.
Yeah. I do coffee with breakfast too. But there's an ad in here. I always say with these old papers and everything, the ads are the best part.
Yes.
Okay, in this 1899 Spirit Lake cookbook, there is an ad for a wonderful new product called Grano. Grano is a pure food drink which takes the place of coffee. It is a table beverage which the children, as well as the adults, may drink without injury, unlike that nasty coffee stuff.
It's like those pharmaceutical commercials that have 30 seconds of some of the side effects, without injury.
Yes. Grano looks and tastes like coffee, but is made from pure grains, and the most delicate stomach receives it without distress. But they don't say what kinds of grain. I wonder what it actually was. A lady said, "The first cup I used, I did not like it. But after using it a week, nothing could induce me to go back to coffee." This has been the experience of many. And then, of course, it goes by, tried Grano, and it's prepared by the Genesee Pure Food Company at Roy, New York. And it's for sale by all grocers. And they have 2 package sizes, the 15-cent and the 25-cent package. Yes.
Go for the bulk and get the 25-center.
Yeah.
You notice that Grano is not around today. My gut feeling is that when Drano came out,
Grano went away. I know. As I was saying Drano, I was
They
thinking
sound
Drano
alike,
too.
but they are not reversible.
Yes. So it's fun to look at the way things used to be back in the day, and we're not talking about. We're talking about home.
Yeah.
We're talking about here.
Yeah.
You know, these
Everyday
articles
life, just
here.
doing different, it's just like we don't think anything about how we do things now. They didn't either. It was the way it was. And who knows in 50 years how they'll be.
Well, I was just, before you said that even, I was thinking, okay, so 50 years from now, the way back when's in newspapers, they will talk about the struggles before we had internet, probably, or who knows what else.
Or slow internet. Families endured a turning circle.
The circle of death. Gosh.
But it just, and how was way back this morning?
It was so good. We had our annual Christmas in the Depot party.
Oh, that's right. And you sang, you had the pump organ
we
going.
had the original pump organ from the Arnold's Park Friends Church. We had Barbara Falk to play it. She is an amazing musician. She could because our middle C key sticks. And you know as well as I do that you need middle C, okay? So it's sticking. So she would transpose into different keys so she wouldn't have to use middle C.
Wow.
On the spot. I might add. And we sang and we shared stories and we ate goodies. It was fabulous. It's one of my favorite.
Makes it feel like Christmas, doesn't it?
It does. And we had Bob Betcher's tree set up with the lights going and the decorations on. It was a good morning.
Very good.
It really was.
Well, thank you for inviting me into the kitchen here at the Dickens County Museum and sharing waffles and all that with me.
Yes. And just let me mention, January 4th, we're having a family fun day from 10 to 11 with Mr. Claus coming in. Even though he's going to be tired from his journeys, he will come in to talk about his journeys. And we'll have some other fun stuff for kids to do.
Wonderful.
Also.
All right, my friend. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jeff.
Always fun. We have a blast right here. You can too at the Dickens County Museum. We want to thank Mary for her time. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast.
Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by West Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.